Today I wanted to talk about self-titled albums and what I think are some of the best ever self-titled albums, because I feel like sometimes if an artist is coming through and being like, this is my self-titled album, this is my most personal album to date, or just not really a very clear vision with the concept or the branding or the ideas, so they just literally slap on their name, it can feel like, what's the point? What do I care? Maybe not. It might not be that good. But these albums are, in fact, in my opinion, some excellent ones. Maybe not the best ever, but for me personally, the ones that stand out the most, ones that I think are the most exceptional, and the ones I enjoy the most too. So stick around to see what my picks are, and let me know in the comments. Tell me what your picks would be. What did I miss out? What should I include? What did I include that shouldn't be here? All that stuff. And yeah, as always, support the channel, follow for more, subscribe, all that good stuff, like the video, share them around, and if you're feeling super generous, because if you really like what I do, you can check out the Patreon membership page, all that good stuff as well. And yeah, hopefully you have a good time watching this one. Let's go. Starting with one that's considered one of the greatest self-titled albums ever, and one of the best albums generally ever, for good reason. Black Sabbath, and then even the first track is called Black Sabbath. There's just a lot of lack of names here, but no, honestly, it is really fantastic. It is one of the best debut albums ever, I would say, as well. In fact, I think I did a couple of debut albums videos before and included that on one of those, so you should check those videos out if you haven't seen those. They were quite a few years ago, and yeah, that is an exceptional album, man. It's just one of the doomiest, gloomiest sounding albums with a really cool, like, bluesy flair on some of the tracks. Like, some of the blues influence coming through is outrageously good, and it just feels like it sets the tone for what music becomes years down the line. Like, there wasn't really anything that was as bold and as abrasive and as, you know, just harsh and as brittle and as spooky as this album before this album really came out. So yeah, it is really a great place to start for self-titled albums. It probably is their best album too. I mean, they've got a lot of amazing albums. Like, obviously Ozzy passing away this year was such a sad loss, and I went through some of their albums that I'd not even done, and I was like, man, I've been missing out, because so many fantastic releases under their belt. But I think this has a good claim to being the best one. That's my opinion anyway. And then going for a less obvious one that might not be mentioned anywhere near as much as Black Sabbath, I want to include Always, or Always, which is one of my favorite dream pop groups of the modern age. They have a really sweet and sticky sound. And yeah, maybe a hot take from me. I think their discography is really on point and really strong. But I've always thought this was actually their best album. Like, Archie, Marry Me, I think it's a really great track. Party Police. I just think they have a real charm. Like, the vocal delivery on this album is so charming. Musically, it might not be as bold as what they did on Blue Rev, for example, but just that real joy that I get from music really lives on this album. So I wanted to mention this one, as many others would often forget about this one, but not me. Fleet Foxes' self-titled is another obvious fantastic one to mention here. It's got all the praise in the world. It's very hard to find anybody that doesn't really like this album. Like, it's really hard to come across somebody that listened to this and didn't like it. It's one of the most beloved albums for that reason, I think, as well. Like, it is just so hard to dislike. I mean, there's going to be somebody in the comments that's like, actually, I don't like it that much, but it's really hard to find anybody that don't think this band has a real beauty to their sound. And man, talking about like influence as well, I mean, god damn, there were so many bands that came after this that just wanted to do this and couldn't match it, man. They couldn't do it. And they influenced a new generation of a lot of stinking kind of like indie folk groups, indie folk singer-songwriters popping through. That got a lot more popular with a couple of hits than Fleet Foxes did, but they just were never as good. Again, that charm really lives on this album, and I think it's a real like beauty behind the vocals, a boyishness to it, and it's just really lovely and wonderful to sit through. Yeah, I had to mention this one. I've always had a massive soft spot for it. It's one of my favorites of the 2000s. It's really good. And then, may as well keep this little trend going. I want to mention a less obvious one that maybe doesn't get the love But it is a rapper that does have a huge stature in the modern day, and that is Future. But his self-titled album, I have often said, could quite easily be his best work. I think people need to go back to that one. The revisionism needs to start, because some people dismissed it at the time as being just kind of whatever, but then there was a bit of a sea change with how people started to view Future's music and Future's stature in the world of hip-hop, and it kind of became more like acceptable, because he was just kind of branded as a mumble rapper in the 2010s. But as the 2010s started to end, people kind of turned around on this style of music and realized actually there's a lot to get from it in terms of the atmosphere and the mood and all that kind of thing. And this is one of his like hardest hitting albums. Like, I think some of his hardest, just nastiest, grimiest bangers live on here, and it's just so fun from start to end. Like, so engaging, so like full of bangers. Yeah, of course, with Future, you're not getting the most lyrical stuff, obviously. There's so many great tracks on it, man. Like, I do think it has a real claim to being his best work, even though you've got like Monster or DS2 in the discography, which are very obvious ones to pick. But I don't know. I think in terms of consistency, you can't go wrong with this one. Like, the track from track to track, there's not really many misses at all, if there is one. The Beatles, obviously the Beatles. Come on, man, the Beatles. What's there to say? I mean, Jesus Christ, am I going to sit here and tell you how good the Beatles are? Everybody that's subscribed to me probably likes the Beatles. Like, what is that point? But no, of course, their self-titled album, often known as the White Album, it is technically still the Beatles, though. So I felt like, I can get away with this one, even though it has a few names and a few kind of identities attached to it. But I'm going to let myself get away with it. And it's absolutely, yeah, fantastic. It could be like top 3 for their discography. In fact, I think it probably is, actually. Just very meandering and has so many ideas kind of piled onto it. So the track sequencing, or the way you sit through it as a sort of singular listen, can feel a bit choppy, can feel a bit all over the place. There are a few misses on there too. I do think the Beatles were known for dropping a few kind of adventurous tracks that they were just trying to kind of play with sound and seeing what they could, throw at the wall and what will stick and that kind of thing. They were very much like that. And yeah, within that runtime, you are getting a few tracks that I definitely think aren't that great. But come on, man, it's like an hour and 30 minutes, and the vast majority of it is just really good. It's got some of their best songs ever on it as well. Like, yeah, I can't really say no to this album. And then, yeah, maybe perhaps a less beloved or less known album to mention next. Although, actually, it does have a pretty big following and a big fan base. Avondale Bowling Club, I want to say. Avondale Bowling Club. I think, yeah, they're self-titled album is fantastic. I've talked about it a lot on this channel before as well. I'm always kind of giving it its praise and giving it its due diligence, because I just think it's really, really like soulful, jazzy. The live instrumentation just really makes the music feel so just like atmospheric and really cool. And like, when you look at a lot of jazz rap albums, they don't really feel as like expansive and as like huge sounding as this one. And the rapping's fantastic too. Tom is really, really cutting into the real sort of working class experience in such an interesting way. I think he's a really underrated writer. And I had to mention this one. It's been far too long since I mentioned Leanne LaHavis on this channel, but she unfortunately doesn't drop enough music for me to warrant talking about her very often. But I still think this is a great album. I know it's not really talked about as much now as when it came out, and I haven't really mentioned it in a while, but that's not to say it's still not something I think about and go back to every so often, because yeah, this is really good. Bittersweet is just stellar, just absolutely the deserving person that should represent this kind of R&B soulful pop sound, that every few years we kind of just regenerate a new one in the UK that ends up getting a hit or having a few hits. And that's not any hate on like an Olivia Dean, who I think is good. She is good, but it's just like Leanne LaHavis could have had that, and she never got it, and I don't get why. Because like I say, every few years there's a new one that pops up that we just kind of pull out of nowhere, and they have a few hits and they kind of fade a little bit. But Leanne LaHavis massively deserved that moment for her with at least one song. And yeah, that weird Fisher's cover on here, rivaling the actual original, which is insane to think that, you know, she would even tackle a song like that, because before this album, you would never think she would even go anywhere near that kind of song. And yeah, it's so good. Just, yeah, really lovely, really earthy sounds. Her voice is absolutely delicate and wonderful to listen to. What an album. Definitely wanted to mention this. And yeah, one that I'm going to mention next as my final one, that I feel like has kind of lost a little bit of its stature, but I still think it's great. Injury Reserve self-titled. Like, let's not forget, man. I think once by the time I Get to Phoenix came out, and that just really wowed so many music lovers and music nerds, me alike too. I thought it was a great album. I think we kind of like left this one behind a little bit, but they were trying some really cool and zany things on this album that I still think actually sound really good even now. Like Jailbreak the Tesla, that beat is just so waxed out and weird, and that Amine feature is just excellent. You've also got like what they were doing with the track with Rico Nasty, which is pretty cool as well. You've got an amazing Freddie Gibbs feature on here. I thought people would talk about that a lot more than they ended up doing. Three Man Weave, one of their best songs as well. Yeah, I think this album has a lot going for it. Like, I really do. I think it's a really, really cool album that just expanded on what they were doing before ever so slightly. I don't think it's as good as the two mixtapes that came before it. I wouldn't say that. But I still think, you know, they were just so good. Like, it was hard to really reach that level. And, you know, going on to like a record label kind of changes how you kind of approach music. And they probably had to maybe shake things up a little bit for that record label. And yeah, you could see that, you could feel the difference, but I still think they produced something really great. And yeah, an underrated album for me. And that is going to be it. That is my picks for the best self-titled albums. And there are probably another 8 I could have done. And maybe I'll save that for another video. And don't worry, they will be ones that you're probably thinking of. So you should tell me in the comments and I will reply agreeing or disagreeing. So let me know if you agree, disagree with my picks. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Hopefully you are sticking around if it's your first time viewing me. And yeah, as ever, subscribe, like, all that kind of stuff. Check out the Patreon as well, the membership page. Would love to see more people over on there. Give you shout outs in videos too. Have a good day. Goodbye.